watching Vnews Bulletin. I'm Yung from Hanoi, and now let's take a look at our top stories as usual.
Vietnam's economy expects strong recovery. And later on, Vietnamese researchers, designers revive theater style outside.
Let's begin our bulletin with the most prominent events of the week from June 20th to 26th.
President of the Assembly of Mozambique, Esperança Laurinda Francisco Nuani Bias, paid an official visit to Vietnam from June 18 to 23rd at the invitation of National Assembly Chairman Vương Đình Huệ. The Mozambican legislative leader held talks with National Assembly Chairman Vương Đình Huệ, paid a courtesy visit to President Nguyễn Xuân Phúc and married Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính, and standing member of the Secretariat of the Party Central Committee Võ Văn Thưởng. During the meetings, the two sides discussed and reached agreements on major orientations to boost the bilateral relations in the time ahead, with the economy being the focus of cooperation. As for the ties between the two parliaments, the two sides signed a memorandum of understanding on cooperation, which they said will serve as an important legal foundation for the two legislative bodies to expand the partnership.
Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính on June 20th attended a ceremony marking the 45th anniversary of Cambodian Prime Minister Hun Sen's journey to overthrow the Pol Pot genocidal regime held in Mem Mot district of Cambodia's Thabong Khmer province. Speaking at the ceremony, Prime Minister Chính condemned the genocide caused to the Cambodian people, as well as the brutal aggression crimes committed by the Pol Pot gang against the Vietnamese people. Prime Minister Hun Sen, for his part, stressed that the history proved that without the journey to overthrow the Pol Pot regime starting on June 20th and the subsequent events, Cambodia could not have had what it is having today. Prime Minister Hun Sen once again affirmed the soundness of Vietnam's aid as Vietnamese volunteer soldiers joined hands with the Cambodian people in their struggle for national liberation, thus helping them get rid of the genocidal regime. On the same day, Prime Minister Hun Sen visited Loc Tân Entrance Road in Loc Ninh District, Binh Phu Province, where he first set his foot on the Vietnamese land 45 years ago, beginning his national salvation journey. He stressed that without Vietnamese people's assistance, there could have been no Hun Sen and Cambodia as they are today.
The 55th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between Vietnam and Cambodia, June 24, 1967-2022, was held in Hanoi on June 24. Deputy Prime Minister Man Sam An led the Cambodian delegation to attend the event. Meanwhile, the Vietnamese side saw the participation of Standing Secretary of the Secretariat Võ Văn Thưởng, representatives of the government, ministries and agencies, and former experts and volunteer soldiers who joined the fight against the Pol Pot genocidal regime, among others. Vietnamese Deputy Prime Minister Lê Minh Khai emphasized the establishment of relations has opened a new chapter in the history of both countries. Khai also revealed the main points of the relationship between the two countries, notably the side-by-side struggle for national liberation and overthrowing the Pol Pot genocidal regime. Expressing the gratitude for the support and assistance Vietnam has given to Cambodia during the past 55 years, Cambodian Deputy Prime Minister Man Saman said, the two countries have always been close friends and good neighbors, together building a relationship of solidarity and friendship, as well as the sentiment of brothers, comrades and neighbors.
Vietnamese Vice President Võ Thị Ánh Xuân attended and delivered a statement of the 2022 Global Summit of Women in Bangkok, Thailand on June 23rd. Vice President Xuân called for bolstering the voice and participation of women in legislative and executive bodies and the planning and implementation of development policies. She proposed enhancing women's economic empowerment through frameworks and policies that facilitate women's entrepreneurship and access to finance and digital know-how, ensure fair pay, and stable and suitable employment for women. The Vice President affirmed that the consistent policy of the Vietnamese government is to promote gender equality in each and every stage of the country's development.
Vietnam's economy in 2022 is continued to recover, with bright prospects, but new risks and challenges also appear.
In 2020 to 2021, despite being heavily affected by the COVID-19 epidemic, Vietnam's GDP still maintained a positive growth, mainly thanks to the growth of import, export, and investment, especially foreign direct investment. In fact, a number of industries recovered strongly after the epidemic, such as retail, personal goods, pharmaceuticals, due to a good recovery in domestic demand. Construction industry pins hope in public investment, FDI and real estate to bounce back. Some industries show good recovery, reaching close to the pre-pandemic period, including transportation, warehousing, and forestry, while logistics sector is expected to be a bright spot in the coming years. The Asian Development Bank has forecasted that Vietnam's economic growth will recover to 6.5% in 2022 and reach 6.7% in 2023. The International Monetary Fund meanwhile believes that the figures will be 6% in 2022 and 7.2% in 2023.
With a coastline of more than 100 kilometers, abundant sunshine and wind year-round, the south-central province of Ninh Thuận has great conditions to develop its salt industry. To fully tap the potential, local authorities and salt farmers are trying to promote the industry in a sustainable way, turning Ninh Thuận into the salt capital of the country.
In the past, salt farmers in Ninh Thuận pumped seawater into fields to crystallize salt on the ground. With this method, a salt crop takes about a month to prepare. Realizing that limitation, local government and salt farmers have stepped up investment in the application of scientific and technical advances to production. They have also promoted replication of clean salt production linkages, established cooperatives to assist farmers in supplying materials and consuming products.
My family harvests from 90 to 100 tons of salt a month. If we sell for local cooperatives, we can earn some $2,400 after deducting expenses. This is 3 times higher than if we sell to traders. Currently, Phương Hải Commune has over 90 hectares of land for salt production. Local cooperatives are purchasing salt from more than 40 households, with monthly output of 2,000 to 3,000 tons. The cooperatives have helped to increase income for local farmers.
In order to improve the value of salt, many farmers have transferred production models, invested in technology, built wells using groundwater, and expanded the area under salt production. Ninh Thuận currently has over 3,000 hectares of land for salt production, with an annual output of nearly 443,000 tons. The potential for salt production and the salt processing industry is still very large.
To meet the demand of the industry, businesses in the province have been investing in salt processing and raw materials for processing high-grade refined salt. The province will help farmers stabilize production, product consumption, and increase income.
According to the government's Salt Industry Development Project, by 2030, Ninh Thuận will be a leading locality with a total area of 3,267 hectares under salt production. Ninh Thuận Province will also reorganize production and create conditions for organizations and individuals to access credit sources to invest in salt production.
Vietnam's fruit and vegetable export turnover hit $1.4 billion in the first 5 months of this year, down 17% compared to the same time last year, according to the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development.
The ministry attributed the decline in 5-month export value to a sharp decrease in shipments of the products to China. Exports of all vegetables and fruit to China have shown signs of decline, except for bananas, which recorded remarkable growth, it said. In the period, China imported 742,000 tons of bananas, a year-on-year increase of 10%, of which the volume of Vietnamese and Philippines bananas accounted for 43% and 48% market share, respectively. The ministry said, in the coming time, it is then difficult for fruit and vegetable in particular and agricultural products in general to enter the Chinese market. Therefore, exporters should actively seek new markets and increase the export of fruits that had been granted permissions to Japan, the United States, and European Union markets.
Vietnamese áo dài or long dress continues to defy fashion law, maintaining the quintessence of Vietnamese identity, despite global fashion trends that change like the wind. In the ancient capital of Huế, the traditional áo dài still prevails, with those designers who retain the passion to preserve and revitalize the feudal style áo dài for future generations.
Born and raised in the ancient royal capital, Professor Thái Kim Lan has a great love for the culture and people of Huế. Although she lived away from Vietnam for an extended period, her love of home and culture brought her on a journey to find and revive what belonged to the ancient city.
The journey started when I asked my mother, aunties, and friends to find their family's áo dài, some of which are expresses and host stories from the past. One such special áo dài of my mother was scripted by Empress Dowager Từ Cung.
This imperial mantle was made from raw silk. The thread was made from gold, silver, and copper, creating a harmonious color of the dragon, the symbol of the king. Lan's collection dates back hundreds of years from the beginning of Nguyen dynasty and includes many precious garments worn by King Khai Định, Empress Dowager Từ Cung, King Khai Định wife. Still others were worn by the royal concubines of King Khai Định and that of other ladies and gentlemen of royal background.
Each garment represents the appearance and position of a person in society.
Designer Trần Hồng Quang Hoa spent years researching and designing many unique áo dài, which are inspired by the feudal Nguyen dynasty.
We have researched our predecessors' artifacts to have a base to work from, creating a traditional garment with the contemporary look of today.
As the designer with a special love for áo dài, Quang Hoa aims to enhance the cultural value of Huế and traditional beauty of this national costume.
I hope I can contribute to spreading the image of traditional áo dài, not only in Vietnam but also internationally.
The journey to preserve and revive the áo dài of the Nguyen dynasty is not an easy task. Researchers and designers like Professor Dr. Thái Kim Lan and Trần Hồng Quang Hoa face the negative stigma of áo dài as a manifestation of feudal bourgeoisie. However, with the enthusiasm and the love for áo dài, they're bringing these designs back to life with a fresh and modern breath.
And that has wrapped up our news bulletin. Thanks for watching and see you next time.